Come out, Virginia, don't let me wait. You Catholic girls start much too late. Oh, but sooner or later it comes down to fate. I might as well be the one. Well, they showed you a statue, told you.
Welcome back. Chucky's on 106.7 The Fan and CB. Cakes and JP. Lurch will be back on Monday after his week vacation. Like the first time he hasn't taken a week and gone to the Atlantis in forever. So he'll be back on Monday. Join us right now on the Mitsubishi Electric Heating Hotline. It's our buddy John Feinstein, best-selling author. What's happening, John?
Morning, fellas. How are you?
Doing great.
We're
How are
doing
you?
well. John, first I want to ask you, which Furious 7 viewing are you going to? Are you going on tonight? You going Saturday night? When are you going out to the movies this weekend?
Probably all of them. I'll probably just go every night.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Not going to happen at all.
What's the last movie you've seen in the theaters?
Unbroken.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah, saw that
Talked
one.
about earlier, the Angelina Jolie film.
Yeah.
Now,
Could you imagine, by the way, we talked about this earlier because there was a story yesterday where somebody was discovered, I think by like some sort of German boat, that he was at sea for 66 days clinging to his sailboat and somehow survived.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. I guess the guys, the two guys who survived in Unbroken, it was like 58 days or something before they ran into the Japanese ship. I also saw, just before I saw Unbroken, Selma, which was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it.
right. I think you've recommended that once or twice before.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, we have to lead off with the Final Four, I think. Obviously, we were rooting big time. I know you're a Cal guy, but I know you're a Mike Bray guy, too, and so are we. Rooting for Notre Dame. Close but no cigar, but, amazing run by them. Did that put enough of a scare into Kentucky that we might see a completely different team here Thursday night? Or is Wisconsin good enough that we could see another close game just like that one?
Wisconsin's going to have to shoot the ball really well to have a chance to win, because Notre Dame played close to a perfect game until the last few minutes. They did a great job of spreading out the Kentucky defense. They didn't make that many threes. They only made 4 threes. But everybody talks about how Towns dominated inside. August was just as dominant inside. They were both 10 of 13 in the game. And I never let it creep into my head that Notre Dame was going to win, because usually when I do that, that's when the team I want to see win loses. And so I wasn't that shocked, but
I'm kind of with you.
You got to give Kentucky credit. I mean, they made their last 9 shots. The play Cauley-Stein made on the last play of the game, tracking Grant for 94 feet and forcing him to take a bad shot. 7-footers can't do that.
Yeah.
But he did, and my heart broke for Bray, because I'm not sure you can get a much better team than that at Notre Dame, and get the kind of experience and chemistry and that they had this year with Grant coming back after flunking out last year, and that would have been such a huge thing for him to win that game. And if they won that game, they'd have had as good a chance as anybody here to win the national championship. And now we've got a Kentucky-dominated Final Four. They are the story of the Final Four for obvious reasons.
Right. So you think Wisconsin's going to have to play a near-perfect game? Certainly,
think
shoot
about
better.
this.
Yeah.
They shot 10 of 12 from 3 in the second half against Arizona, and it was still a close game.
Right.
And the reason it was a close game was because they could not guard Arizona inside. And I don't think they're going to be able to guard Kentucky inside. Now, and you never say never, especially in one and out. We all know that. But my gut says that Kentucky dodged the most dangerous bullet it's going to face last Saturday night.
Right, I tend to agree with you. All right, on the other side, Michigan State, Duke. I was actually kind of high on Michigan State coming into the tournament. Had them have them in the finals, but I didn't have them meeting Duke. I'm afraid this is where they may bow out. Mike's got a really good squad.
Well, they've improved, and I think that's to his credit. I mean, I've said all year that they didn't play enough defense to get to the Final Four. They've given up 54 points a game in the 4 tournament games. They've clearly, Okafor still has it in his contract that he doesn't guard anybody, but they've become at least a good defensive team, not one of his best defensive teams by any stretch, but a good enough defensive team that with their weapons and with Winslow really emerging as a big-time player here in the last few weeks, that they'll be a tough out for Michigan State. Now, that said, I thought that Oklahoma would be a tough out for Michigan State. They won the game. I thought Louisville would be a tough out for Michigan State. They won the game.
Mm-hmm.
Izzo is just so damn good, especially this time of year. And the reason I think he's good is because his players play with less pressure on them than any big-time team I've ever seen because they know how much their coach wants to win, but they also know that he is having a good time. He is, coaches always talk about enjoying the ride and stuff like that, and then they lose their minds on the bench. Izzo actually does enjoy the ride. I was up in Syracuse, and a kid would make a mistake, and he'd come out, and Izzo would tell him what he did wrong, and then he'd start laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he's not unique in that way, he's pretty darn close to it.
Well, interesting thing about Izzo, that you can't show a sort of a March stat where he's just not sort of dominant, except
Right.
I think against Coach K, right? Do I have that right? Does Coach K have his number big time?
Krzyzewski's 8-1 against him.
Right.
But Izzo did beat him in 2005 when Duke was a 1 seed and Michigan State was a 5 seed. Michigan State made the Final Four that year. But yeah, because Krzyzewski's got a winning record against an 8-1 record against him, and as Izzo points out, his 14-year-old son is a Duke fan.
Right.
So it's really tough on Tom sometimes.
How do you think Duke will match up against Kentucky if that's the final, which is probably the final that everybody wants to see?
Well, it's not the final I want to see. I'd rather see Michigan State or Duke play Wisconsin, to be honest with you. But if that game occurs, Duke's going to have to shoot the ball really well because they're not going to score inside. Okafor's not going to get a whole lot because they won't even have to double him because they've got so many different big guys who can take turns guarding him. So their outside shooters are going to have to make a lot of shots, and they're going to have to not foul. I mean, that's true of Wisconsin. That's the sort of secret weapon Kentucky has is that they shoot free throws so well. You can't foul them, and they're hard to guard. So if a team is hard to guard and you have to foul them and they make the free throws, they're hard to beat.
I feel like you don't get too caught up in like these high school recruits or whatever, but everybody got all excited when Diamond Stone announced he was coming here. And then I guess you add in the transfer, what is it, Butler, and then Jay Carter, and then Jay Williams I saw from ESPN. I read it just last night, said, you know what, they could contend for a national championship with Melo and those guys.
Well, you're right. I don't get as fired up about kids signing with different schools as other people do. I mean, Stone is very highly rated, and he's a big guy, and they need a big guy. He'll only be there 1 year, and he'll be. I guess Alex Len was a one and done, and he'll be. I noticed that he said that he wanted to go to Maryland because Alex Len went there. He's going to Maryland because he's an Under Armour guy. I mean, that's what we've come to in recruiting. He wanted to go to an Under Armour school. Maryland's an Under Armour school. That's the way things go nowadays. But I think they can be very good. I'm always suspicious of transfers. Not that some of them don't turn out to be good players, because some of them do. But the guy sitting out is always the best player on the team, no matter who the coach is. They're always he's better than anybody we have. And then the next year they come in, and sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're not. So we'll see if Carter turns out to be as good as everybody is saying. But they've got some very good players coming back. There's no doubt about it.
Talking to John Feinstein, best-selling author, will Shaka Smart be as successful in Texas as Rick Barnes has been?
I'm in the process of writing about that right now, and more from the point of view of was this the right time for Shaka to jump? We all knew eventually, someday, he was going to leave VCU, and he was going to go to a quote-unquote big-time program. And my question is this the right one? He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make like $18 million over the next six years. God bless him for that. He's got a young family, all good. But we're talking about an athletic director who fired Rick Barnes, who'd gone to the NCAA tournament 16 times in 17 years, who also fired Mac Brown.
Right. By the way, and I've been saying this all week, I can't imagine that the guy, I believe he only didn't win 20 games the one time, and went to 16 out of 17. It's shocking to me. He did go to a Final Four. He's been to the Elite Eight a couple times. I can't believe he got blown out there.
Yeah, and Rick is a good friend of mine, so I have a bias here. But this guy Patterson told Rick when he met with him, a week ago Saturday now, that when he was in the NBA, because he has this basketball expertise, because he was running the business side of an NBA team, that there were people in the league who felt that when Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge came into the league, they weren't really ready for the NBA. And Rick said,
"What?
They weren't. They were 18 and they were 19. By the way, how's Durant turned out? And on that basis, you're going to fire a guy who, as you said, made the tournament every year but won at a school that doesn't exactly devote a lot of time and resources to basketball.
His winning percentage was like 700. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous.
It's a joke. And that's why I worry, because I like Shaka a lot. And I think he's one of the bright lights in the sport. And I do worry a little bit that, down there in Texas, if things don't go well, that people are going to want to jump. Look how they jumped on Charlie Strong, midway through the first season down there. And it makes me a little bit nervous. I would have rather have seen him stay at VCU and wait for one of the real, iconic jobs, because I think eventually he would have gotten one of them.
John, earlier we had a very brief conversation about who is the most beloved athlete in D.C. right now. Based on Ovi's accomplishments, he now has 6 50-goal seasons. He's won a bunch of MVPs. You would think that's the case, but I said, I don't know if I'm buying him as the most beloved. Can you kind of give us your perspective on that?
Well, I mean, he's certainly beloved among hockey fans.
That's what
but
I said.
There just aren't that many hockey fans compared to baseball or football fans. The most beloved player in D.C. at any given time is going to be somebody who plays for Snyder's team.
So you're going to say Kerrigan. So it's got to be Kerrigan.
Yeah, Kerrigan, and I would throw into the mix, maybe Jordan Zimmerman or Ryan Zimmerman with the Nats.
Right.
Not Jason Worth, in spite of what some people say.
No.
But Ovechkin though has earned. He is, what he's done is he's so good at goal scoring that he has gone past just the hockey niche. There are people who, my wife knows who Alexander Ovechkin is.
Right.
That kind of thing.
And John, he's also doing it in an era where guys aren't scoring at the same clip as
No,
even like
and-
10 or 12 years ago.
No, he is a great goal scorer. And as I said to Grant and Danny the other day, and Grant almost had a heart attack when I said this, to be really, an iconic player in the game, he's got to win Stanley Cups. And then when Grant starts starting his stats in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. You got to win. You got to win. It's a team sport. I get it. But how did we look at John Elway after he won the 2 Super Bowls as opposed to how we looked at him before he won 2 Super Bowls? And he'd been in Super Bowls prior to that. Ovechkin hasn't even been in the Stanley Cup Finals yet. So when he does that, and I believe he will, by the way, I think they've got a good management team in place. They've got George McPhee drafted a lot of good young players, even though in the end he wasn't given credit for it. I think they can make a run this year as much as anybody else in the playoffs, because there's nobody who's dominant in either conference.
Right. All right, listen, they're giving us the sign. We got to run. Thank you, John. Have a
All
great
right,
weekend.
Thanks.
Okay, buddy. All right, good stuff from John Feinstein
Look
there.
at the Caps right now. They've got 96 points, the same as the Islanders. Both teams have played 78 games. Nobody's going to catch the Rangers. They're winning the division. But you've got the Islanders and the Caps with 96 and the Penguins with 95. The Penguins do have one game in hand. So it's going to be topsy-turvy the last couple of days.
I'm not going through all the details of the possible Caps-Islanders playoff matchup.
Yeah, I don't even know.
We've done that dance.
I don't even know who I'm rooting for. I mean, I don't even who we want to play.
Right.
No idea.
Coming up at 9 o'clock, we'll be joined by Dave Revson. Big Ten Network will get his take on the Final Four on the Fan.